Hi everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and today we are going to be giving you my review of Covet by Tracy Wolff, which is book 3 in the Crave series. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let me start this off by saying you guys know how amazingly enthusiastic I was about book 1 and 2. I loved Crave and I loved Crush even more. And I was so looking forward to this book coming out. We've been waiting since October and I just could not wait. This pains me to talk about. And I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or anything, but like, let me just get out of my head what I think, okay? So for a spoiler-free review of this book, the best way that I think that I can put it is this is book 3 of the Crave series, right? So if you read books 1 and 2 and you weren't really on the Crave train and you didn't really know if you wanted to continue with book 3 and you wanted to get a review to see if you should, probably don't, in my opinion. If you loved books 1 and 2 and you want to know if you should continue, well, you probably shouldn't be asking because you loved books 1 and 2. So definitely you're gonna need to read book 3 because we have another book coming. So that's kind of where my spoiler-free review of this book ends, because you can't really talk about a third book in a series without spoiling things. If you weren't into it, maybe don't keep going. If you loved it, keep reading. Okay. The best way that I can describe how I feel about this book is that of this series so far, we haven't gotten all 4 books yet, but of this series so far, Covet is my new moon. The book that I could really do without. I did not think that it matches the others in the series like I don't think New Moon matches the others in the series. I think that the end of Crush and the way that that book was developed and concocted and how everything came together in that plot for that book set us up to have this amazing third book. And if you remember, the book was originally, or the series was originally only supposed to be 3 books. But as Tracy started writing, she realized that she had more to say and it extended into 4. But sometimes I don't necessarily think that that's the best decision that an author makes. And I think this was one of those instances. We were set up for such an amazing book at the end of Crush. We were set up, we had all of these plot lines. We were going to be going to war with Cyrus. We wanted to find out what went on between Hudson and Grace. We had this choice that Grace had to make between Jaxon and Hudson. And we had things going on with the Bloodletter, and we've got these strings that we're trying to figure out. What about the unkillable beast? Like all of this amazing plot line that we were just like raring to go, like ready for it in book 3. Everything's gonna start happening. And then we start reading the book and I'm like, why is all of this stuff happening? I felt that this book was, the best way to describe it, okay, is if any of you have been on TikTok, which you're on YouTube, so I'm assuming you're on TikTok. But if you're on TikTok and you saw the trends of quarantine, you know that video that's like the pop goes the weasel kind of sound where it's got this is how something is supposed to go. It's from this point to this point in a straight line. But then this is how it happens in my life, and it goes dun 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 dun, and then it finally gets to the end. That's how I felt this book was. That's the only way that I could like fully describe it in a way that just made sense to me. I felt that we had the end of book 2 and the end of book 3, And in the middle just kind of went like this all the way to get to this point. And I didn't think it was necessary. I think that it was a lot of plot that just was there to extend the plot out. And I don't love when authors do that, because sometimes, and I hate saying this, it's like breaks my heart to say this because I love the first two, but sometimes when that happens and I feel like it just nothing happened in the whole book and we eventually got to the same point that we were at the end of the last one, that authors and publishers like do that to just sell another book. And I hate feeling that way, first off, and I hate having to like have that thought come to my mind, because that's not how I want a book series to be. So pieces of this book that I didn't love. There were some scenes that I did, but I felt that I had certain expectations coming out of book 2 that did not get fulfilled in this book. I felt like I wanted Hudson and Grace to have this like beautiful love story that developed, when really it was just Grace being indecisive and then going all in with Hudson and then blaming it on the mating bond and then kind of being like, oh, well, he's really supportive and okay, yeah, great, I'm mated with him. But we still have to break our bond, even though I don't know why. Like, I don't think that was ever made clear as to why the bond had to be broken. I still can't have anybody explain that to me, even though it didn't happen. But like, why was that part of her thought process? So I felt that their relationship scenes in the book were very forced. They did not have that feels and like fireworks that I felt were in the last book. And so I was really disappointed in that. I also felt like the end of the book, so the whole scene with like the prison and all of that was kind of really rushed. I don't know, it just felt very disjointed. It was like we had to create this prison, but the prison didn't really make sense to me. And then the scenes kind of started looking too similar in my head. Like the Dragon Court scene where they're at this, outside market, swap meet, that kind of thing, looked the same as the pit. And so I was like, why are we duplicating the scenes here? Like, why is this so consistent throughout this book? Like, what is so important about them being at a market and going through this market together? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. I also felt like we added in characters that are supposed to have a purpose later, but that didn't really feel like great to me. Like I don't know who Remy really is, and like, why did we leave him? But we got Calder out, but then we just left her, and it just felt like it wasn't cohesive and meaningful like the first two books felt. I didn't really love that. I also felt like we are killing people off just to have a reaction when it doesn't really do anything to the story, especially since it was reversed 30 seconds later in Jaxon's case. And like barely even at like 2 pages that you turned and he was already back. It didn't hit me. I didn't have those emotional feels for those scenes because I just felt that they were being thrown at the reader just to have shock factor, but didn't actually change, like I said, from the end of the last book to the end of this book. I also felt like the tone of the book was a lot different. And what I mean by that is the first 2 books were cheesy and fun and they had all of these cliches and we loved that. And then this one, I just felt like it was very quickly written. And so it seemed to be catered to a much younger YA audience than the last 2 books were. A lot of phrases that were repeated over and over again in the book. Like, I swear if I had to read "You got this" one more time, it just felt like that kind of style was geared more towards the young, like really, really young crowd, which is fine. I just didn't think that it fit with the other two books. I really struggled with trying to make this video because I was so passionate about the first two, and I hate giving reviews where I tear things apart because somebody worked really hard on this and like this was their passion project and their baby, and like I hate giving negative things and negative feedback, but I always say that I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and that's what I'm gonna continue to try to do. Will I read the next one? Of course, I'm gonna read the next one. This one was not my favorite. And I really hope that this one doesn't dim my thoughts for the next one. But I do think hopefully where we ended with this book, the next one will have picked up kind of where I expected it to. I know I have a lot more thoughts, but I think I've been talking for a very long time. I may have enough put together that I do a part 2. We'll see what happens. If you want to talk more, you can find me on Instagram at The Fun Size Reader, on Facebook at The Fun Size Reader, and on Twitter at Fun Size Reader. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and click the little bell below so you get notified when I post my videos. See you guys next time.